Hello! Hello! Oh, that's my Twitter feed. Or the Watchtower Database Twitter feed. That's not where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be over here on the Batman Rise of Sin Tzu novelization, Chapter 12, Gareth Baxter, U.S. Federal Agent. Hope everyone's having a good day today. Mine is, I guess, as good as it can be so far. I've only been awake for 2 hours. However, I did just get the news that my local comic shop shut down on the 18th, so like 5 days ago. So that's kind of upsetting. But you know, it'll be fine. I just emailed them to try. I didn't even know they had opened back up, so I just emailed them trying to see if we can set something up so that I can get the last couple books that I had in my subscription box, and maybe if they have any DCAU back issue stuff that I could get a hold of out of their leftover inventory, because I'm sure they need to, like, you know, pay off bills and payroll and all that kind of stuff. It's really upsetting all of the small businesses that are going out of business during this whole coronavirus thing. Oh, I just realized I didn't even have the music playing. Let me get that going. There we go. There, so it's not just me chit-chatting over nothing. Yeah, this is the second comic shop that, like, I frequented, you know, since coming to Seattle, that's closed down. So that's a pretty big bummer. There's the one that I mentioned in the Mystery of the Batwoman video that was across the street from my work, and now this one that was literally a block away from my first apartment. And it sucks, you know, but it's happening all over the place. It's not just this comic shop. Like, the doggy daycare my fiance works at shut down because of this. Well, they were going to shut down. They shut down so much faster because of the pandemic. The food truck that I work for, they just text me the other day to say, hey, like, we're probably not going to be reopening on the other side of this. You know, and meanwhile, Jeff Bezos made like $13 billion in one day because everyone's shopping off of Amazon during this pandemic. I would say, if you could, you know, find out if, like, your local mom and pop stores have like online ordering and stuff like that, and buy things through them rather than Amazon, because they need all the help that they can get. Yeah, I get that, Justin. That's actually why we put my streams on Thursdays, because it's Thursday. But yeah, so you know, it's a bummer that they're going out of business, but I don't know that I can say much more than I've already said on that. So we're doing chapter 12 of Batman Rise of Sin Tzu novelization. Last week we did chapter 11, where our focus was on a thug named Ramon Domingo, who was part of like a task force that Bane employed from, like, a prison island, and brought them into Gotham, like, in a crate or whatever, and they tricked Batman into thinking that the crate carried weapons of mass destruction. Batman transported the crate from the docks to the Batcave, hoping that he could, you know, deprogram whatever was inside once he got there. And once they got there, boom, it opened up, and Bane and all of his men bust out of the crate. And Batman had to take them on. This chapter, we're dealing with Gareth Baxter, a U.S. federal agent. My assumption is that the feds, you know, are coming to Gotham because, like, they don't think that anyone's got it under control. I don't know how much attention you guys are paying to, like, protest stuff, but, like, this is very topical right now because we have feds snatching people off the streets in Portland. So if we end up getting into political talk or whatever, I mean, I guess not if we, but like, that's something that might happen. My favorite comic book shop closed down, which is the same comic book shop I got the Batman at. That's a bummer. Yeah, there's so many that's just like closing down right now. Like I said, if your local shops, whether it's a comic shop or a video game store or like anything that you would normally go out and buy with your money, if they have online delivery and you're not comfortable going out while all this pandemic stuff is going on, use your local shop's online delivery rather than Amazon. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's just hop into oh yeah, absolutely agree with you there, Justin. Let's hop into the to the story. Soldiers lined the verdant fields as far as the eye can see. There must be hundreds of them, thousands, tens of thousands. They stand in perfect formation, shoulder to shoulder, their uniforms gleaming cream and gold under the hot attention of the sun. Their heavy black boots planted firmly in the grass. They hold their chins high and their eyes low as I probe the first assembled row with my eyes. "Captain!" I bark at the young man to my left. His lucid brown eyes snap up to meet mine as I inspect his broad jaw and clear skin. Salty sweat glimmers on his throat as he nervously licks his lips. He's a model of health and vigor, seeming to grow an inch taller as he stiffens under my inspection. "Sir, yes, sir!" "Where's the 10th Regiment?" I demand. "Guarding our rear access, sir!" "Excellent." I shade my eyes from the sun and squint across the battlefield to where our enemies have begun to mass. Disordered and drab, a scurrilous bunch of heathens. Hard men who must be tamed. Behind me, I hear the approach of hooves. Let me flip the page there. I turn to see our general riding towards us. Powerful and erect on a magnificent steed of purest white, he carries a mighty rod of power which glistens in the beating sun. If the uniform of our soldiers gleam, he is truly resplendent, his golden skin lustrous in the brilliant daylight, his dark hair like a swath of midnight to frame his face. His eyes meet mine, and ever so slightly he smiles. "Commander," he says quietly. His accent is soft and exotic. His voice is at once as smooth as an Asian breeze and rough as the desert sands. Delicious. This dude's really got like a fucking hard-on for his, Right? Yeah. Like, I'm with you there, Tron. Like, it's very weird, like, reading all of this, like, juxtaposed to the reality of what's going on right now. I pull myself up to my full height and salute him. "Sir!" His stallion paws at the dirt, kicking up tufts of grass from astride the mighty beast. The general's keen eyes rove over our troops before he turns his attention once more to me. I see him slowly take in my cropped brown hair and olive eyes, his glance stroking up and down, all 6 feet of me. The lean musculature and clean-shaven all-American good looks. Finally, he returns the sharp jerk of my salute, thereby allowing me to relax. "This battle will soon come to a head." "We'll take him, sir. This one will go down in history." "Good work, Commander. I simply follow your orders, sir." He pauses, cocking his head slightly as he looks at me so that the black and red yin-yang symbol stained onto his forehead seems for a moment to... Hold on. Are we talking about Sin Tzu here? Are the feds working for Sin Tzu? He pauses, cocking his head slightly as he looks at me so that the black and A red yin-yang symbol stained onto his forehead seems for a moment to pulse, swirl, and then right itself. He reaches down from his stallion and thrusts the rod into my hand as he dismounts. I know it couldn't have been easy to gather everyone on such short notice. My chest rises slightly as I inhale, taking the gleaming staff from him. When I told them who summoned them, sir, they all came at once. The general smiles again, his eyes locking onto mine. A frosty, sharp breeze blasts across the combat zone. I frowned, turning towards the wind, and wake up in my bed with a shiver. The room is dark, lit only by the streetlights outside. My window a jumble of blue and black, and cold, too cold. Out of the corner of my eye, I catch a fluttering movement. The drapes. I'm sure I didn't fall asleep with the window open. I work covert field operations for the federal government. My hands are always free when I walk. My pistol is always loaded. And I never fall asleep without closing all the windows. Never. Don't get up, says an even voice less than 2 feet away from the side of my bed. I sit up abruptly, instinctively pulling the sheets to my throat with my left hand as if a few millimeters of Italian silk could protect me, while my right hand goes for my gun. And do not pull a weapon. The Batman, it has to be. We were briefed on this over and over again. No one gets tasked to Gotham without seeing the file. It's 93 pages of testimonials, 93 pages of fluff. We've got nothing, not a damned thing that'd stick. That's how dangerous this guy is. I relax my grip on the 40 caliber H&K USP law enforcement model 12 shooter under my left pillow and turn towards his voice. 46 of the 52 testimonies I read mentioned the Batman's complete intolerance of guns. But he had better understand who he's dealing with here. I may have started out as a civilian, a board-certified licensed psychiatrist, actually with a pre-med from Yale, an MD from Johns Hopkins, and a residency at Star Labs Psychiatric. Let me flip the page because this is a big paragraph. But now I'm an FBI PSP IRS. Not a special agent. Not a special agent exactly, but rather part of the federal professional support personnel concentrating on tasks related to the intelligence research specialist. I started my career with the feds as a supervisory special agent assigned to the National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crimes, and worked my way up from major case management advice, threat assessment, and strategy or recommendations for investigation, interviewing and prosecution to case-specific research concerning how individual offenders committed their crimes and how they avoided detection, identification, apprehension, and conviction. I've received every promotion for which I've been eligible, and the agent in charge of my background investigation said I had one of the cleanest records he'd ever seen. Goddamn, Devin, I could have sworn your writing was only blatantly horny on Maine when not writing Nightwing. I get a lot of Shadows of the Empire vibes from this, with the tie-in book and game featuring a new villain. Is that a Star Wars thing? Oh, did the page not load? There it goes. Okay. All right. Well, we got a lot of stuff to note from that paragraph or two. So let me drop those in the notes real quick. We have, what was it? His 40 caliber H&K USP law enforcement model 12 shooter. And then we had, let's see, mention of Yale, Johns Hopkins, Star Labs Psychiatric, What else was there? FBI is I'm just gonna put FBI, PSP, IRS. I mean, there's no commas between them, so I don't assume he's saying. Yeah, federal professional support personnel concentrating on intelligence research specialist. Okay, so it's just like his job title. So I will just put FBI. National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crime. FBI counts as a location, right? I mean, like, they got FBI offices. I don't know, like, if I would count FBI as like a group or a location. National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crime. Okay, I think that's all of the notes so far. Let's hop back over to the book. Yeah, we try to be kind of thorough in the notes. James is sometimes more thorough than I am, and will list like every single object. I try to list like ones that stick out as important, that are like named, but like I'm not gonna write down Batarang every time a Batarang shows up. That's a matter of pride with me. I'm a straight shooter. Batman, I say calmly. Dude, that wasn't very calm. I say calmly, just to let him know that I understand who he is. He snickers slightly under his breath. No, not this time. But if you don't cooperate, well, next time, just maybe. I'm guessing this is Nightwing if it's not Batman. If you're not the Batman, then who are you? My eyes begin to adjust more completely to the dark, and I can just make out the lines of his figure crouching on my 7-drawer dresser. He doesn't wear a cape, as I was told the Batman does, but his eyes are covered by a small mask that mostly serves to call attention to the bare skin of his face as it contrasts against his dark hair and the rest of his entirely covered body. Gloves, boots, he's a young man, early 20s, and even in the dark, I can make out the long, lean muscles rippling under his skin-tight costume as he moves. I watch him for 10 seconds without blinking and realize that he's in almost constant motion. "Call me Nightwing," he says, his tone almost conversational, "and hand over the Sin Tzu files." Nightwing? I shake my head. I don't remember anything about a Nightwing from the files, but he must be one of the Batman soldiers. We've long suspected that the Batman has a support team operating under the acronym ROBIN, Reserve Officers of the Batman's Intelligence Network. Most of them alarmingly young, kidnapped children possibly, or runaways. I've also heard of an operative called the Dark Knight, but never Nightwing. This is interesting, getting like the Fed's take on Batman, right? Like, I haven't read the Batman Inc. storyline, but from my understanding of it, like, this sounds kind of like a precursor to that. Your Nightwing voice sounds like Clayface pretending to be Flash. So my Nightwing voice that I try to do is in my head somewhere like between Sonic the Hedgehog and Flash. I don't know why, but one of Batman's soldiers, more like one of his seconds. Right, yeah, I mean, they're the Feds and they don't have a lot of information on him. You know. Nonetheless, Nightwing moves around my room restlessly, lifting objects to peer under them and unobtrusively sliding open drawers. He stops by the shelving unit to peer at my collection of porcelain figures. I reach for the pack of cigarettes on my nightstand as I watch him, trying not to let his obvious impatience unnerve me, and hoping he's not enough of a Philistine to break anything. He picks up one of the figurines in his gloved hands, peering at it with obvious revulsion. "That's Willow Tree Boy," I inform him. He immediately sets it back in place. Are these some kind of collectibles? He asks incredulously. You don't know about these? I lean forward, engaged, letting the covers fall to expose my naked chest. At least this young man can leave better informed than when he came in. It would be a shame to be so magnificent looking and not be capable of civilized conversation. They were started by an artist named Goebel more than 60 years ago. Some of those are originals, by the way. The figurines are all based on drawings done by a Bavarian artist. And they became popular shortly after World War II, when soldiers returning home from Germany brought them back as gifts. Notice they're all wearing some sort of Bavarian garb, and they're all children. Aren't they cute? Alright, so let me drop the next couple notes in here. For timeline stuff, we've got that, what? It said Nightwing is in his early 20s, I believe. Yeah. I don't know if that holds up with the timeline of this book so far. Because, like, they said Commissioner Gordon only came to Gotham like something like 10 years ago, and Nightwing was 8 or something like that. Let's see. Let's put Willow Tree Boy on the list. I wonder if these are like I wonder if these figures he's talking about are like a real deal thing. Let's see. He mentioned Goebel. The figurines began production over 60 years ago. World War II happened. And then, let's see, we got a mention of Germany. The Bavarian. What is the country that's attached to the word Bavarian? Would it just be like Bavaria? Is Bavaria a country? Okay, Bavaria is a German state. Got it. I'm curious about this Willow Boy thing. Willow Tree Boy. Let's see if this is a real deal thing. Goebel, Willow Tree. The fact that it doesn't autocomplete tells me it's probably not. Oh. Okay, so these are real deal figurines. This is the kind of stuff the feds have on on their bookshelves, I guess. Wait, hold on. I just realized that like this Fed said that like he came to Gotham, right? Like he's stationed in Gotham. He doesn't live in. Why did he bring all these figurines with him? Let's see. So basically, he thinks that Batman's the Sewer King. The idea of Nightwing's mask always felt dumb to me, but if it's super dark, it makes sense. There wouldn't be much difference. Did you like the forgotten episode of Batman the Animated Series? Because it was not a great episode, and Jay's reviews thinks the same. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think it's the best. You know, I don't think it's the best episode ever by any means. If you've seen the Batman is Compassionate video that I did, I do think that it and like a lot of the other kind of like clunky early episodes are really helpful in like setting up like who Batman is as a character and like his desire to like help people that can't help themselves, and I think they could have done that in better ways. You know, like I said, that's not a perfect episode by any means, But I do think that it and like a lot of the kitty centered episodes from the early season is are worthwhile, at least for setting up that character trait. This is like the Watchtower Data Boys explaining their action figures when someone breaks into their house. There's some leniency there with the early 20s thing since feds got next to no information on them. That's true. I'm lagging. I'm not trying to lag. It says I've got 54% skipped frames over the last 2 minutes. I need to get a better computer that can handle streams better. But I am very broke right now. My unemployment checks got froze like almost 3 months ago now because of a glitch in their system, and it's been hell trying to get them to unfreeze it. So I can't afford a computer right now. Let's see, where were we? He lifts another off the shelf, one of my favorites, and stares at me blankly. That's Max and Morris, I say, smiling. What the hell is wrong with you? He asks with a frown. Don't you have a grandmother? I ask dryly. What's this worth? He counters speculatively, dangling the two porcelain boys a bit too precariously above the floor. I try to calculate how much cushioning the gray, long pile rug will afford them. Put them back! I say as authoritatively as I can manage. I need Sin Tzu's files. I don't know what you're talking about, I tell him. I have just brought a cigarette to my lips to light when he leaps onto my nightstand, squatting just inches from my bed. A gloved hand shoots out of the darkness and flicks away my unlit smoke. I feel certain for a moment that he's going to kill me, and then realize with the swallow that he's unarmed. Do you have any idea how dangerous someone has to be to break into your bedroom in the middle of the night and threaten you unarmed? As if to justify my fears, his leg snaps out behind me, kicking my H&K out from under the pillow. We both listen to it skid across the hardwood floor, towards the closet, before he speaks again. He still holds Max and Mortiz hostage in his other gloved fist. Ugh. Why did he go from Max and Morris to Max and Mortiz? I'm talking about the psychiatric analysis you've done on your current case study subject, Sin Tzu. You remember Sin Tzu, right? The international assassin and despot, not to mention highly dangerous coordinator of tonight's Arkham Asylum and Stonegate prison breakouts, Scarecrow's little fear gas escapade at the courthouse, Clayface's assault on Gotham Chemical, and the threat of a weapon of mass destruction homing in on Gotham? His voice takes on a harder, edgy quality as he leans in closer, his white teeth flashing in the sleepy blue of the bedroom. I want his files! Now! I feel the threat in his voice prickle at the back of my skull before shimmying all the way down my spine to pull in my groin. A glance towards the bedroom door on my part puts him between it and me in a heartbeat. I try a different tack, sitting up straighter and lending an edge of authority to my voice. Those files are classified. This earns me a short, derisive laugh. Come on now, he says suddenly at the foot of my bed, rolling Max and Mortiz between long, nimble gloved fingers. I can hear the smile in his voice. Do I look like I care about the authority of the United States government? Maybe not, but you should. Now he sighs with frustration, moving towards my curtains, which he yanks apart roughly. I wince. It took me 14 months to find just the right shade of yellow linen to match the dominant shade in the Kandinsky print above the bed. Actually, it's more of a citron. I become distracted for a moment, remembering his leg kicking the gun out from under my pillow. Do you have any idea what's going on out there, Gareth? He asks. He's not laughing anymore. If anything, his tone has become achingly earnest. I'm tempted to lower my estimate of his age. I wasn't kidding when I said your boy emptied out Stonegate. That's 1,489 former inmates running free through the streets of Gotham tonight. Now, some of them aren't dangerous to the general population, but most of them are. I can think of 14 serial killers, 29 mass murderers, 16 repeat offender pedophiles, 43 rapists, and 62 armed burglars in their midst off the top of my head. Those are guys I know by name. Some of the ones I don't know are even worse. He pauses to let this sink in and then continues. Behind him, out the window, I can see 2 separate fires raging out of control on the east side of the city, adding an unnatural glow to the room. Sirens wail in the distance as if to underscore his speech. These are the kind of guys who take nice little boys like Max and Murray here. Max and Morris here. Play with them for a few hours, and then leave them floating sans eyeballs in the Finger River by dawn. I'm sure you've seen some of their files. Kevin Shorty Robinson, Ronnie Dubray, Kurt Lewis, the Sheldon Park pedophile. Let me flip the page, and we can drop some notes here. Oh, I see James just entered the chat. Let me drop these notes real fast, and then I'll see what he said. So let's see. So we got, I guess Gareth has been in Gotham for 14 months, right? It took 14 months for Gareth to find the right shade of linen to match his something. Gareth has been in Gotham for at least 14 months. And yet he hasn't run into the Batman a single time yet. We got Max and Morris, the other figurine. We got the United States as a location. I mean, that's generally like where we always are. Most, like the majority of the time in these books, but we haven't mentioned. What is Kadinsky? That's capitalized. So what is Kadinsky? I guess it's this artist, Wassily Kadinsky. All right, well let's list him in the characters. Oh, that's not the right tab. There we go. Wassily Kadinsky. Just like that Wascally Wabbit. We got Gotham mentioned. I guess Gotham and the United States have both been mentioned like throughout the book, so it's like I probably don't even need to. And then we got, let's see, all these people that Nightwing just mentioned. It's really interesting. Like I wish that that this book had been a little bit better with like following the canon. Because it's really interesting getting like a much more adult take on the DCAU. Even if it is kind of horny at times. Let's see. Sheldon Park and Finger River are both mentioned. Right? And like I'm not saying that like, you know, the DCAU was really in need of Kurt Lewis, the Sheldon Park pedophile, but I do think that like it adds a bit more realism to like the need for, you know, Batman and stuff, like that there's this kind of stuff going on in the city. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so I did flip the page already. All right, what do we got going on here? Out of the shower now. How else will we list Batarang appearances on the website? Maybe these little figures are tiny versions of the Justice League that the German soldiers saw during World War II, and this Fed has the hots for Nightwing. Noting all his muscles, calling him majestic, I think Nightwing just made his groin tingle Okay, Curtin confirms it. Uh, yeah. Well, it seems what Danny was saying was it seems that that the author has a bit of a crush on Nightwing, so they're just moving their horniness to Gareth. Frederick Worthen. Is that the seduction of the innocence guy? Right? Is that who that is? It's unfortunately kind of written like, well, in early 2000s, LOL, the joke is that he's gay sitcom character. Don't worry, I didn't say anything important. Nightwing almost mentioned Max. Is it me, or is that Nightwing acting weird?
Good job, Rob.
A little bit. Hey, Kruk04 is now following. Thanks for joining us on our adventures. Let's see. I would rather DCAU properties mention this aspect with their higher ratings than what Batman and Harley Quinn did to take advantage of. Yeah. I think that, like, you know, doing more adult stuff like in a serious manner probably plays a bit better than doing it for comedic purposes. I don't really see the horniness of the book as that bad. It's kind of Devin's thing. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like insanely horny, but like I never needed to like have a mental image of Jonathan Crane's urethra, right? Fred Wortham's main point was that Batman and Robin were a gay couple. Okay, yeah. So that's the seduction of the innocence guy. Compared to how horny certain writers are when writing female characters, this is very tame. True. The beginning of Batman and Harley Quinn was horny. Yeah. I won't disagree with you there. Where were we? He was right. I had read the cases, even helped with the nationwide manhunt for Dubray. But that was all small potatoes compared to the case I carry now. The city is under siege, Nightwing continues. It's a war zone. He watches me for a moment in the dark. I just want to go back for a second and so Nightwing was talking about there were 1,489 inmates running free, and he's like, most of them are dangerous. And to prove that most of them are dangerous, he comes up with, 14 serial killers, 29 mass murderers, so that's 43 people, 62 armed burglars, so that's, now we're at 105. So he can think of 105 people out of 1,489 off of the top of his head when saying most of them are dangerous. Like, bro, that's a fraction of like what is the actual percentage? Like, I'm sure that there would be other ones in there as well, but like, yeah, that's like that's a little over 7% of the Stonegate prison population. So I'm just, come on, Nightwing. I don't think it's so much that Nightwing's bad at math. I just think that it's the same problem that like police in general have, is just that it's just like they see people as the enemy and they don't like really understand like false imprisonment and like people getting locked up for non-violent crimes and stuff like that, right? Like, that's one of my main problems with this book, like, altogether. Like, 1,489 people and how big Gotham is, and like, I'm sure that like a lot of them were locked up for non-violent crimes. So it just seems like the scale of havoc that's going on is just kind of unrealistic. Like, I imagine there would be some havoc, but like not to what we're seeing, where like the city's burning down. Let's see. He watches me for a moment in the dark, and when I don't say anything, he goes on. On top of that, Sin Tzu blasted a few inmates, presumably including himself, out of Arkham. You've worked at Arkham Asylum, right? It's a very special place, reserved for the deeply, incurably, criminally insane. The ones we know about for sure are Scarecrow and Clayface. They may sound like harmless loonies you could dress up like for Halloween, but they're far from it. I still say nothing. So he begins to pace from the window back to the foot of my bed, tossing Max and Morris back and forth between his two gloved hands restlessly. Lucky little boys. If this guy worked at Arkham, like, how has he not been in contact with Batman before? Yeah, most of these escapees would be like, oh, thank God I could go see my family, right? And for some reason, Batman has a cell phone in Batman and Harley Quinn, even though it takes place in between Justice League. There's a lot of cell phones going on throughout the DCAU. We got him in Batman The Adventures Continued. We got him in Batman and Harley Quinn. They've got the communicator thing that he has in The Rise of Sin Tzu, both the book and the game. Like the technology that they've been putting in like the modern day DCAU stuff is much more advanced than the future set DCAU stuff. So it's kind of funny. Let's see. Scarecrow is a pure sociopath. He has absolutely no awareness that torture and massacre are wrong and compulsively engages in both. He once incited a riot at Gotham State University where he used to teach, encouraging 32 college sophomores to tear each other to pieces during a drug-induced panic. To this day, he doesn't understand why he's being punished for that. As for Clayface, I've read the files. That doesn't mean I can hand over Sin Tzu's. Nightwing comes closer, gently pleading with me, his face briefly illuminated by the street lamp outside. I watch his lips as they move and swallow hard. We need to find him, Dr. Baxter. We need to get inside his head and figure out what he's trying to do so we can stop him. And now it's my turn to laugh. It's not Nightwing's fault. Psychological profiling is a completely legitimate crime-fighting tool, and probably the first thing I'd suggest if he were looking for one of the mass murderers or serial killers he mentioned previously. But Sin Tzu? I've been studying the man in person for over a year now, and am hardly any closer to understanding his genius than when I started. Sin Tzu has a mind like a blazing sun. It's simply not possible, I tell him. Me giving you the files or you using them to understand Sin Tzu? Why are you protecting him? Nightwing's voice is hot and tense again. Once more, my training sends a visceral warning through my body. He's volatile, dangerous. I wish I'd taken Central up on their offer of a bodyguard. As Nightwing resumes his search for the files, now with renewed energy, my bedroom suddenly feels too small, as if it can't quite contain him. Believe me, if I think there's something you could do to resolve this crisis tonight that you don't end up doing, I won't hesitate to bring you in. Alright, really quick, let's get, there's a couple small notes there. Let me flip the page. We got a mention of Gotham State University. I thought that they were going to go with like maybe something that happened in an episode when they brought that up, but they didn't. And then when we got Gareth has been assigned to Sin Tzu for over a year. There we go. Okay, now it's flipped. There was 456 weed smoking inmates mentioned in the original cut of the book that led to 3 pages of debating over the nature of prisons and how morally justifiable they are. But it was removed because the editors are filthy centrist cowards. It's just like how in a Spider-Man comic that's supposed to take place in the same time as the first Spider-Man comic has Twitter. I wonder why Twitch is blocking out the randomest words like dumb and coward, which aren't bad words. I don't know. I'm seeing them on my end. Is it like the Twitch, like the actual Twitch platforms blacking them out, like censor covering them or something? That's interesting. Nightwing, I don't know where Sin Tzu is, honestly, and I don't know the reasoning behind what he's doing tonight. but I do know that he has a reason and a comprehensive plan. It'll probably be beyond our ability to fully comprehend, but try to understand. I sit even more forward on the bed, warming to my topic. We're in the position here to watch this unfold right before our eyes. It's an astonishing opportunity. This is the greatest criminal mind in the history of humankind. Watching him execute an offensive, I catch my breath and reach again for the packet of cigarettes and lighter on my nightstand. It's an honor, I conclude. I'm almost smiling just thinking about it. I'll write a book when it's all over, help share Sin Tzu's brilliance with the world, the Gotham Offensive, lessons in strategic genius, or maybe Inmate Sin, Confessions of a Mastermind. Hey, James, we should bring this guy back in Legacies at some point. Like, he's on a book tour. He wrote this book. Right? Because even if the book itself doesn't fit canon, like, we can bring in elements of it. There's no honor in standing by while... Oh, hold on. Yes, Twitch for some reason is censor covering them. That's weird. Isn't Twitch run by a bunch of 20-something tech bros? It's a small miracle that the whole website isn't a complete disaster. Twitch is actually owned by Amazon, which, like, fuck them. But, you know, we live in a society. Okay, so maybe this Fed guy is an analog for the actual author of the book. That's also possible. Which makes sense why they're horny for Nightwing. There's no honor in standing by while people get hurt, Nightwing tells me, jaw clenched in frustration. He tosses Max and Morris at me in disgust, and they bounce harmlessly onto the bed. I snatch them up and place them tenderly on the nightstand before extracting another cigarette from the pack. I put the pack down next to Max and Morris and twirl the cigarette between the fingers of one hand while tapping the lighter against my knee with the other. How can I explain Sin Tzu to this young masked man who tracks through the night, deeply believing himself to be a hero? It's not that I don't understand where he's coming from. When I was first assigned to Sin Tzu, I was shocked by a lot of the things he'd done. The bloody coup in Karak, for example, the massacre in Chulon. I read his dossier with predictable righteous indignation. I even looked forward to my sessions with him, thinking, and I can laugh about this now, that I'd break him down, bring him back in touch with his feelings, help himself actualize himself as a complete autonomous integrated human being. I had no idea that he really was. I had no idea what he really was. Couldn't see the bigger picture. Sin Tzu operates in a place outside mere morality. He's beyond human autonomy. He's reintegrating himself with global engines we don't even have proper names for yet. He's someone we can't categorize in conventional terms, completely outside the box. I got the case based on the success I'd had working with Iraqi military personnel during Desert Storm. By the age of 33, I had a reputation as the psychoanalytic go-to guy for military enemies of state. The profiling I'd read on Sin Tzu up to that point was a frantic mess of anxiety and speculation. I looked forward to earning his trust and getting the real man on record. He was very patient with me in our sessions. He must have known I would never be capable of understanding even half of the knowledge he held, but he was tolerant of my questions, even sent me away with homework assignments, reading lists. When I tried to get personal with him, he was direct, but never emotional. What I at first took to be flat affect was really an almost mystical ability to direct his internal energies. I mean, yes, there was pain in his history, memories that in a more typical patient I might have worked with and tried to bring to a sense of closure. A colleague of mine asked me once about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but what the hell does that mean anywhere outside of this country? Sin Tzu grew up in a land at war, and he lost his parents early. He doesn't have an exact age, but I assume he was around 8. Maybe the character is a response to seductions of the innocents. Like, the moral of the book is, yeah, LOL, Batman is pretty gay, so what? Maybe. LOL at the idea of a Fed actually trying to rehabilitate someone. Okay, let's see. So we got a couple mentions. We got Karak and Chulon, which I believe have already been mentioned before, but I don't remember. We got a mention of Iraq. We got to mention that Desert Storm happened. When was Desert Storm, right? Because we're talking about Gareth Baxter's age. He said he's what, like, he was, or he built his reputation by the time he was 33. All right, by the age of 33, I had a reputation. Yeah, Desert Storm was 91. 90 to 91. Okay, that's about what I was gonna peg it as. So, are we saying he was 33 during Desert Storm, or that he's 33 now? Because we're like, what, at least 10 years after that? Is at least 33. And let's flip that motherfucking page. Boop. There we go. I'm making a Batman series, and I'm making him have PTSD after Batman Arkham Asylum gave me PTSD. 33 by Desert Storm, most likely. That's what I was thinking. What's with the idea of PTSD doesn't exist outside America? So I don't think that he's saying that it doesn't exist outside of America. But what I think they're trying to say is that, like, these nations are, like, at war, right? Like, because America keeps fucking bombing them. And so, like, these people have dealt with this traumatic shit their entire life. So, like, you know, what does PTSD look like in these other countries? Like, is it the same as what we would classify it as here? Like, could we say that they are post-traumatic when, like, the trauma is consistently happening to them? You know, are they does it happen so often that they become numb to it? All that kind of stuff is what I assume they're saying. Oh, and one last note. I need to add some more rows real quick. Which, like, I don't know. I don't know necessarily that, like, you know, with the way that this book is written, that, like, that's specifically where their mind went on that, right? Because, like, they seem to kind of be glorifying all of these the feds and the cops and all that kind of stuff. So, like, I don't know if you know, Devin Grayson thinks America always right or not. But that's just the reading that, like, I'm getting out of that specific piece. That's a huge psychological hurdle, no question, even in the best of circumstances, by which I mean an absence of exterior societal adversity such as war. Children orphaned at that age are almost always additionally burdened with developmental, social, and behavioral problems. Developmentally, an 8-year-old is old enough to understand that he's been abandoned, but not old enough to make sense of it. The role parents play in the emergent psychology of their children, especially in a capitalist pro-individual culture like ours, where everyone is supposed to belong to someone, well, I can't exaggerate its import. It's imperative to the psychological well-being of the child. Infants who clearly have no conscious understanding of what's going on have been known to pine and die for the loss of parents, even while in the care of others. Yeah, that they are a little woke here for a Fed, right? They just said the whole thing about like in a capitalist culture we're all supposed to belong to someone, and that hits the fucking nail on the head. A child of 8 losing one or both parents is likely to be consumed with feelings of abandonment and distress, and no logical explanation of what happened to mommy and daddy is gonna cut it on an emotional level. If the death of the parents was violent, that child may also feel the need to be incredibly on guard at all times, lest the danger that took away mom and dad circle back for him. Add to that the desire to get even and the illogical but deeply held belief that there might have been something he could have done to prevent his parents' death, and you have a very distressed young human. Hell hath no fury like an orphan forsaken. It's funny that, like, you know, obviously, like, in narrative, they're, like, talking about Sin Tzu, but, like, there's, like, a meta-contextual thing of, like, oh, they're talking about Batman! This is Batman! They're psychoanalyzing Batman! These were some of the issues I thought I'd be addressing with Sin Tzu. It occurred to me, too, that I knew nothing about death culture in his native country. As a society organized around the collective rather than the individual, it was possible that the death of one or two people would not be considered so terrible, that orphans in that war-ravaged part of the world might find themselves more fluidly absorbed by their communities than the ones in ours. I thought Sin Tzu might hail from the kind of place where the death of his parents would leave him very focused and with his own solid place in his societal structure, but without the possibility of getting his personal emotional needs met in any meaningful way. And in fact, all of that is probably true. In terms of where Sin Tzu is from, it just isn't true in terms of Sin Tzu. Amazingly, he made healthy translations of any grief he may have held into creative brilliance for military strategizing. I light my cigarette and regard the last space in which Nightwing stood, even though by the time I'm looking at it, he isn't there anymore. I don't like that's still the Fed. I don't like watching people get hurt, I tell him after I take a long drag. The hot smoke filling my lungs seems to displace cold clouds of anxiety that had been threatening to cut off my breath, and I return the lighter to the nightstand, grateful for my failure to quit. But you have to have faith in Sin Tzu. He won't let this chaos continue unchecked. It's serving some purpose for him, and when that purpose is achieved, he'll end it. Nightwing appears in my peripheral vision, a small stack of my personal files in his hand, regarding me warily, his head cocked. I think he's just changed his mind about me. It is maybe beginning to see the truth of what I say. And do you have any idea what purpose that might be? I'm afraid I don't. I smile as I ash the cigarette into a small glass ashtray, also on the nightstand. It'll blow our minds when we find out, though. I'll tell you that much. Flip that page. Show me the page. There we go. Nightwing touches something on the side of his mask, and the material covering his eyes begins to glow a whitish green. Then he starts sorting swiftly through the small stack of files, which I realize he must have found in my briefcase. He's reading them in the dark, and then discarding them, one by one, onto the floor. What if we don't live that long? He asks casually without bothering to look up. If Sin Tzu considers us expendable, then so be it. I would rather die as the pawn of a genius than as the savior of an idiot. Now Nightwing does look up, letting out a low whistle as he turns the glowing eyes of his mask back on me. Sin Tzu must do a lot of work with mind-altering chemicals and brainwashing techniques, huh? He can control weak minds, yes. I take another drag of my cigarette. Why? He turns his attention back to the files. Just a hunch. I smile, catching his drift. He's like a clever little boy, mischievously bantering about insults. I wish I had more time to play with him. You know, I muse, it's really fortunate that I was assigned to Sin Tzu. I can fully appreciate his creativity, whereas another psychiatrist might misinterpret his genius as, you know, sociopathic aggression. Sin Tzu is not aggressive. His choices aren't emotional. He's motivated by challenge and an intellectual symmetry. Nightwing has finished going through the manila folders from my briefcase and dumps the last one on the floor unceremoniously. I watch his gaze rake across my room as he tries to decide what to take apart next. I have to find some way to distract him. What about you? I ask none too subtly. How does one get to be a soldier in Batman's army? He chuckles softly under his breath and then beelines to the Kadinsky, hopping up on the bedstand again to gently pry the framed print from the wall and peer behind it. His movements are supple and acrobatic. Why? You looking for a new line of work? He asks. Okay, now he sounds like a Jordan Peterson. I feel like this dude is manipulated by Sin Tzu to some point. I start to take another drag off my cigarette, only to have it kicked out of my mouth. I wait for some sensation of pain to blossom across my jaw, but none comes. Nightwing bounds back off of the nightstand and grinds the cigarette out under his boot into the rug. The moment he leaves, I am going to have to treat that with stain remover and pray it's not too late. I wonder if I still have the receipt. It's gonna take me a week to get the smell of smoke out of this. He grumbles, sniffing at the arm of his costume with a frown. I'm sorry, I say, unable to repress a smile. I consider offering him the use of my shower and then decide against it. So far, he hasn't felt the need to assault me. I hope you don't have a hot date after the insurrection. My quip earns me a brief flash of one of the most stunning grins I have ever seen. I am suddenly consumed with the desire to get up close to him and rip off his mask. But that, I remind myself, would almost certainly get me killed. This dude wants to fuck Nightwing. Like, that's all that is, right? Trying to get him in the shower, trying to like rip his mask off. This dude is horny. I'm imagining his gloved hands on either side of my head, preparing to snap my neck, when he jumps out onto the bed, suddenly crouching over me like Fuseli's nightmare. Baxter, I really need those files. Get up and rip off his... I know where this... Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's see. Who is Fuseli? Henry Fuseli. Okay. So let's put Henry Fuseli in here. And then what was it? Fuseli's Nightmare. I wonder what that looks like. Let's check out this painting that they felt was important to mention by name. Ding. Can I see the full thing? Instead of just the... Oh, what happened there? That's not it. There it is. See, the woman laying down is Gareth Baxter, and the troll on top of her is Nightwing. That's what we got going on here. That's probably not what they were intending at all, but that's what I'm taking from it. Preparing to snap my neck. Like, I don't blame him, but Jesus Christ, dude. What? There will not be any ripoffs here. Alright. Did I flip the page already? I did. Okay, we're good. They're not here, I lie. Yeah, he says, moving back towards the closet. I'd maybe believe that if I hadn't already been to your office. He begins pulling clothes from their hangers and emptying out shoe boxes, his energy unceasing. What would you do with them even if I turned them over to you? Are you schooled in psychiatric intake assessments? I'm just the messenger boy, he answers, emptying out a hat box full of figurine receipts. He lifts one up and peers at it with a snort. You paid $700 for Little Maestro? Limited edition! I answer flatly, suddenly intent on finding a way under his skin. Messenger boy, huh? For the Batman, of course. Sin Tzu must know he'd face the Batman's resistance in any attempt to take over Gotham City. In fact, that must be his plan. I suppose he means to defeat the Batman. I muse aloud, thinking of Sin Tzu soothes me. But something about my statement makes Nightwing, for the first time since he's been in my room, go still. That's not gonna happen, he says, his back to me. I hear the steel in his tone and admire the Batman for being able to instill such loyalty in his soldiers. For the third time in the 6 minutes he's been in my room, danger radiates off Nightwing in waves. I understand your devotion, Nightwing, but you'd better prepare yourself. Sin Tzu has never suffered a defeat. Nightwing has turned his attention back to ransacking my closet, so I continue, mostly because the already fading nicotine buzz, the sound of my own voice, and especially my thoughts of Sin Tzu are the only things keeping me calm. If he lets you live, you'll come to marvel at the clean efficiency of his thinking. Your worries about what's happening tonight will seem completely insignificant to you insignificant to you once you grasp the full scope of Sin Tzu's campaign. Wait until you stand before him in person. He's utterly magnificent, enthralling, captivating. From the closet, his back still to me, Nightwing drops his head with a slight groan, and then with breathtaking alacrity? Alacrity. That's a new word for me. I'm getting a couple new words out of this book. He executes a perfect backflip that lands him once again by the side of the bed, frowning at me with something that looks a lot like disgust. He thrusts his gloved hands in between my mattress and the box spring and thus produces the Sin Tzu report. The dude's thirst for both Nightwing and Sin Tzu is off the charts. Dude, let's get a Sin Tzu, Nightwing, Gareth Baxter threesome going on. If any of y'all wants to draw that, put that up on DeviantArt. No, I won't tweet it out on the Watchtower database account. James would probably get mad at me about that. Why is everything always in the last place you look? He says quietly, shaking his head at me. The answer is because if you find it, you're not gonna keep looking. You're not gonna look in another place, Nightwing. That's the reason. It's in the last place you look because that's when you stop the search is when you find it. This seems more targeted for adults than I thought Batman and Harley Quinn ever was. Right? For sure. It's kind of funny because, like, I'm pretty sure the game is rated E for everyone. I'm warning you again. That information is classified. Duly noted, Nightwing answers, flipping through it to verify that it's what he's been looking for. My brow creases in concern as he leaps up onto the windowsill, preparing to exit the way he came in. Wait! He turns to frown at me over his shoulder, impatient as ever. It's folly to go after Sin Tzu. If you get in his way, he'll what? Nightwing asks menacingly. You care about the Batman, don't you? I ask, softening my voice. Nightwing's eyes narrow. Nightwing's eyes narrow. There we go. It's two separate sentences. Tell him to surrender before it's too late. It's already too late, replies Nightwing, for Sin Tzu. I think about this for a second, and then I nod softly. Sin Tzu would not have bothered engaging a lesser opponent. I'm happy for him that he has found something to do worthy of his skill and intellect. All right, real quick, we had what was what was the name of the receipt? Little Maestro. Let's add him. We're up to the last page, guys, gals, and NB pals. Let's see what does Little Maestro look like? Is this part of the Bavarian figurine collection? Alright, which do we think it is? There's two different ones. There's one where the dude's kind of rocking. I'm going to say it's probably this one with the teddy bear, because it seems to match the style a bit more. Wait. Maybe it's this one here. Who is the guy they were saying made these? Let's put his name in. I'm just like, anytime they mention like a specific art piece by like name and something like that, I like, you know, trying to see what it looks like to kind of get a sense of things. Goebel. Okay, so it was the one with the teddy bear. Interesting. Why would you pay $700 for this? Here's one on eBay. How much does it go for these days? Did Gareth Baxter get gypped? $99.99 on a buy it now. Gareth Baxter got his money stolen from him. All right, we're on the last page. He's aware of this, bro. Who's aware of what? Then the game has a false rating. The only way to solve this lust triangle is for them to enter a polyamorous relationship and get married in the Bahamas. Well, I mean, the next chapter, as you can see, is Sin Tzu, so maybe that happens. After the last page, I get to say, see you next Thursday. Oh, shit, we are still live. Yeah, we're on the last page. Maximumify. Let's see. This will sound strange, Nightwing, but if you need someone to talk to when this is all over, damn, this dude does want to fuck Nightwing! I thought we were just joking, but like, this dude wants Nightwing to come back. Right? And like, he was talking about offering him a shower. Dude, this dude wants to fuck Nightwing. Nightwing laughs bitterly. Prepare yourself, Doctor, is all he says. I glance down at Max and Morris on the bedstand and manage a whimsical smile. Prepare myself for what? I ask, not without affection. I hope Sin Tzu doesn't kill him. I'd like to see if I could break him myself. Maybe present him to Sin Tzu once his attitude has been properly adjusted. When I glance back up at the window, however, he's gone. I remain sitting up in bed, the covers hooked on my hips. There's no way Sin Tzu could have underestimated his opponent, is there? The Batman soldiers aren't sullied amateur ruffians, even if they can't appreciate a nice porcelain figurine collection. They're clean, strong, loyal troops with dazzling smiles and the confidence of nightmares. I mean, if Nightwing is that formidable, I can only imagine what the Batman must be like. Where is Sin Tzu? Is he truly prepared for what's coming? I wish I could stand beside him in this final battle, document his strikes and his inevitable triumph. I think about getting dressed and going out into the night to find him myself, but I'm not sure even I could risk the chaos he's unleashed. For a long while, I simply feel the cold air against my face and listen to the sirens. And that's the end of the Horny for Nightwing chapter. We've got 2 chapters left of this. I'm stretching a little bit. We got 2 chapters left of this. We got next week we have chapter 13 with Sin Tzu, and then the week after that, we ended up off with a chapter of Bruce Wayne, Batman. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on, because like most of Sin Tzu's chapters so far have been like told in flashback, right? And like with us being like this close to the end, I feel like this chapter probably needs to not do the flashback thing, not do all the "as I have written in the past" stuff. I mean, it looks like that's where they're starting, but like we need the fight, man. And like I'm sure that the last chapter probably focuses on Batman like returning to Crime Alley, because like that's where we started, that's where the game ends, and it's probably going to be like a reflection of like Batman and how he feels about the Night. Is Nightwing gay or just him? I'm gonna say that Gareth Baxter is probably the one who's into dudes more so than Nightwing is. I could get down with a bisexual Nightwing though. That'd be an interesting take on the character. Imagine being a kid who played this game on the Xbox and read this horny book, right? Yeah, like I can't imagine like what it would what a kid would get out of this, right? Because like I'm sure there'd just be like a lot of stuff that kind of goes over their heads, right? Like, you know, the mention of Jonathan Crane's urethra, the dude pissing himself and shitting himself earlier in the book, the Aryan Brotherhood, all the rapists and pedophiles. It's this chapter was someone's gay awakening. It has to be. Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I always visit Crime Alley in Batman Arkham City. It's God, I need to go back and replay the Arkham games. I think I like restarted Arkham Origins at one point, but the fiance plays more video games than I do, and we only have one TV. And I try to spend as much time as I can doing Watchtower database stuff. Anyway, so like, you know, it's I just don't really give myself the time to do video games too often. I could get down with a bisexual nightmare. I mean, I could. That's something everyone can relate to. That's true. But yeah, okay, so that's it for this week. Next week we've got, you know, the Sin Tzu chapter, then the Batman chapter, and then we're all done. This is the rest of the book. This is the rest of it. If you don't follow us on Twitter, that's DCAU Watchtower, Instagram, Twitch, all the same. But I think because of lag, when Maddie cuts off, it ends the stream before we can see the signing off. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going ahead and I got some errands to run, so I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here. You guys enjoy your afternoons, and I will see you next week. Bye.